Failure doesn't arrive with noise. It comes quietly, like a shadow you don't notice until it's covering everything. For me, it started on an ordinary morning. The kind of morning that once felt full of promise. I woke up early, as usual. The city outside my window was still half asleep. Cars moved slowly. Streetlights flickered. And for a moment, I convinced myself that everything was still under control. But deep down, I knew the truth. The company I built, the company I poured my youth into, was dying. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my laptop. Unread emails, missed calls, overdue invoices. Every notification felt like another crack in my chest. This wasn't just a business. It was my dream. I remembered the beginning clearly. The late nights, the endless planning, the excitement of starting from nothing. I remembered telling my wife, with pride in my voice, "One day, this company will change our lives." Back then, she smiled. She believed, or at least, she pretended to. But belief is easy when success is visible. That morning, I finally accepted what I had been avoiding. The investors were pulling out. The accounts were empty. There was no miracle coming. My hand trembled as I closed the laptop. I had failed. When my wife walked into the kitchen, she noticed my silence immediately. She poured herself coffee, leaned against the counter, and asked casually, "So, what now?" I didn't answer right away. I was still trying to find words that wouldn't make this sound as bad as it was. "The company is done," I said quietly. "We lost everything." She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an uncomfortable one. A real laugh. I looked up at her, confused, hoping I had misunderstood. But her expression was clear. She shook her head slowly and said, "I knew this would happen." Those words hit harder than the failure itself. "I warned you," she continued. "You were chasing dreams instead of stability. Look at you now." I tried to explain, tried to remind her of how far we had come, of how close we once were to success. But she wasn't listening. She sat across from me and crossed her arms, her eyes cold and sharp. "So what am I supposed to tell people now?" she asked. "That my husband is unemployed." That's when I realized something painful. She wasn't worried about us. She was worried about image. I stayed silent. She mistook my silence for weakness. "You know," she said, leaning closer, "not everyone is meant to be successful. Some people are just meant to try and fail." Every word felt deliberate, calculated. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and said, "I married a man who promised security, not excuses." The door closed behind her, and just like that, I was alone. The house felt bigger than it ever had before. Every corner echoed with disappointment. I sat there for hours, replaying everything in my head. Every decision, every risk, every moment I chose ambition over comfort. By evening, the reality settled in. I had no job, no company, no support, and worse, no respect from the person who was supposed to stand beside me. Days turned into weeks. I applied everywhere. I lowered my expectations. I swallowed my pride. Rejections came quickly, some polite, some silent. Each rejection reminded me of her laughter. At home, things only got worse. She spoke to me less, looked at me differently, as if I had become a burden overnight. One night, during dinner, she finally said what had been hanging in the air. "I can't live like this," she said flatly. "I need stability. I need certainty." I looked at her and asked softly, "What about loyalty?" She scoffed. "Loyalty doesn't pay bills." That sentence destroyed something inside me. I realized then, she had already left emotionally. She was just waiting for the right moment to walk away physically. And that moment came sooner than I expected. A week later, she packed her bags. No arguments, no tears, just decisions. Before leaving, she looked at me one last time and said, "You should have listened to me." The door shut. This time, it felt final. I sat on the floor that night, surrounded by silence. No company, no marriage, no future I could clearly see. But somewhere beneath the pain, something else was growing. A quiet determination. I realized that losing everything had taken away my faith. There was nothing left to protect. And when a man has nothing left to lose, that's when he becomes dangerous. I didn't know it yet, but this fall wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. Betrayal doesn't always come with shouting or slammed doors. Sometimes, it comes calmly, with logic, with excuses, with a smile that hides indifference. After she left, the house didn't feel empty at first. It felt unfamiliar. Her shoes were gone. Her perfume faded from the air. And the silence had a different weight now. Heavier. Permanent. I told myself it was temporary. That she just needed space. That once I found my footing again, she would come back. But deep inside, I already knew the truth. People who leave you at your lowest rarely return for love. They return only when you rise. Every morning, I woke up to the same routine. Check job listings. Send resumes. Wait. Rejection became normal. Some companies replied politely. Others didn't bother at all. I went from CEO meetings to interviews where people barely looked at my face. You have an impressive vision, one recruiter said. But we're looking for someone more stable. Stable. That word haunted me. It was the same word my wife used when she left. Money started disappearing faster than hope. Savings ran out. Bills stacked up. I sold my watch. Then my laptop. Then pieces of my past I never thought I'd let go of. And through all of this, she was moving on. I found out through mutual friends. She had a new job. A good one. A corporate position in a fast-growing company. The irony cut deep. It was the same company that had acquired my failed startup. The same people who rejected my ideas were now benefiting from them. And she was proud. Photos appeared online. Her smiling in office clothes. Team dinners. New beginnings. She looked happier than she ever did with me. That realization hurt more than the divorce papers that arrived a month later. Yes, she didn't just leave. She filed for divorce. No discussion. No counseling. Just paperwork. Her lawyer was efficient. Cold. We're requesting a clean separation, he said. No financial obligations. In other words, she didn't want me, and she didn't want my problems. I signed the papers with shaking hands. That night, I drank alone for the first time in my life. Not to forget, but to feel. I needed the pain to remind me I was still alive. Weeks passed. Depression knocked often. Some days, I didn't leave the bed. Some nights, sleep never came. But something changed slowly. Very slowly. One night, while staring at the ceiling, I asked myself a question. Was she right? Was I just a dreamer who failed? That question burned. And instead of destroying me, it awakened something. I opened my old notebooks. Business plans. Ideas that were never executed. I reviewed my mistakes honestly. No excuses. No ego. I realized my biggest failure wasn't the company. It was trusting the wrong people and ignoring financial discipline. For the first time, I stopped blaming others. I took responsibility. That's when rebuilding truly began. I started consulting. Small projects. Low pay. No recognition. But it was honest work. I learned more in those months than I had in years of success. I learned how systems fail. How companies bleed silently. How leadership decisions ripple downward. Meanwhile, her life looked perfect from the outside. She was climbing. Promotions. Praise. Once, we crossed paths at a cafe. She didn't expect to see me. Her eyes scanned me quickly. My cheaper clothes. My tired face. There was pity in her smile. How are you? She asked. I answered simply. Working. She nodded, proud of herself. That's good, she said. I knew you'd figure something out. As if she had anything to do with my survival. Before leaving, she added, you know, things happen for a reason. I watched her walk away, confident, certain, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. I finally understood something important. She didn't betray me when she left. She betrayed me when she stopped believing. And belief is the foundation of any relationship. From that day on, I made a promise to myself. No more emotional attachments to people who value convenience over character. I worked relentlessly. No weekends. No excuses. While others slept, I studied. While others complained, I improved. Years passed quietly. No social media updates. No announcements. Just progress. And then, one unexpected email arrived. The same company, the one she worked for, they were struggling. Internal mismanagement, declining profits. They needed someone who understood both innovation and recovery. Someone who had failed and survived. They asked for a meeting. I smiled for the first time in years. I accepted. At that moment, I didn't think of her. But fate already was. Because betrayal has a strange way of circling back. Not with revenge, but with irony. And the stage was finally set. The email sat on my screen for a long time before I opened it. Not because I was afraid, but because I understood what it meant. Some opportunities don't arrive as blessings. They arrive as tests. The subject line was simple. Confidential leadership discussion. The sender's name belonged to a company I never thought I'd hear from again. The same company that had acquired my startup. The same company where my wife now worked. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled slowly. Life has a strange sense of timing. The meeting was scheduled for the following week. A glass building downtown. Top floor. As the day approached, memories resurfaced. Walking into boardrooms years ago with confidence. Pitching visions that people doubted. Losing everything. But this time, I wasn't walking in as a dreamer. I was walking in as a survivor. The morning of the meeting, I dressed carefully. Not flashy. Not desperate. Calm. Controlled. As I entered the building, the lobby felt familiar. Yet different. Back then, I came here seeking approval. Now, I carried experience. The elevator ride felt longer than it was. Each floor passing like a chapter of my past. When the doors opened, I was greeted by faces that once rejected me. Executives. Board members. They stood up when I entered. That alone told me everything had changed. We exchanged greetings. Formal. Professional. They didn't waste time. We're facing internal collapse. One of them admitted. Departments are bleeding money. Leadership is disconnected. Another added. We need someone who understands innovation, but also understands failure. Failure. They finally understood its value. They had studied my past years. My consulting work. My turnaround projects. You've seen both sides, the chairman said. That's Ray. They offered me a role that shocked even me. Senior executive with full operational control. Not a symbolic position. Real authority. I didn't respond immediately. I asked one question instead. What happens when difficult decisions need to be made? The room went quiet. The chairman replied carefully. You'll have our full support. I nodded. I accept. The contract was signed 2 days later. When I returned home that evening, I sat alone in silence. Not celebrating. Not smiling. Because I knew. This wasn't just a job. It was a return to the place where everything fell apart. My first day was scheduled for Monday. I arrived early. Earlier than everyone else. Walking through the halls, I noticed things immediately. Poor communication. Unmotivated staff. Fear disguised as professionalism. I had seen this before. And then, I saw her. She was standing near the elevator, talking to a colleague. Confident. Comfortable. She didn't see me at first. I kept walking. Closer. Her colleague noticed me and suddenly straightened. Good morning, sir. She turned. For a second. Just a second. Time froze. Her face lost all color. Her eyes widened, searching for logic that didn't exist. She looked at me as if she had seen a ghost. I nodded politely. Good morning. No emotion. No satisfaction. Just professionalism. She stammered. Why you? What are you doing here? I work here now, I replied calmly. Her colleague quickly excused himself. She stood there, frozen. This must be temporary, she said quietly. Consulting. I shook my head. Leadership. The word hit her harder than any insult could have. I walked past her toward my office. Behind me, the whispers began. News spreads fast when power shifts. Inside my office, I stood near the window overlooking the city. The same city that once watched me fall. Now it watched me return. Meetings followed. Department reviews. Hard truths. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I listened. That made people nervous. Because leaders who listen see everything. By midday, her name appeared on my schedule. Performance review. I read her file carefully. Good numbers. Average leadership. Nothing extraordinary. But there was something else. She was part of a department under review. That afternoon, she walked into my office. Slowly, carefully, she sat down across from me. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she spoke. "I didn't know," she said. "If I had." I raised my hand gently. "This is a workplace," I said. "Personal history stays outside." She nodded quickly. Relief flickered across her face. But tension remained. "I expect results," I continued. "Nothing more, nothing less." She agreed. As she left, I noticed something new in her posture. Uncertainty. Days passed. The company began to change. Processes improved. Accountability increased. Some employees resisted. Some adapted. She worked hard. Very hard. But pressure reveals character. Late one evening, I saw her alone at her desk. Exhausted. For a moment, the past tried to speak. I ignored it, because leadership requires distance. And destiny was still unfolding. I knew one thing for certain. The return wasn't about revenge. It was about control. And the real test was yet to come. Power doesn't announce itself loudly. It reveals itself quietly. In decisions. In silence. In who has the right to walk away. After my arrival, the company entered a phase no one was prepared for. People expected anger from me. Ego. Revenge. They didn't get any of it. That scared them more. I began restructuring without warning. Not randomly. Precisely. Departments were audited. Budgets questioned. Performance exposed. Meetings became uncomfortable. People who once hid behind titles suddenly had to explain results. And fear. Fear travels faster than rumors. My wife. She felt it before anyone else. Her department was one of the weakest. Inflated numbers. Poor coordination. Surface-level success hiding deep inefficiency. She worked longer hours now. Arrived earlier. Left later. But effort can't replace leadership forever. One evening, the board requested a closed-door review. I presented the truth. Not opinions. Facts. "This department is unsustainable," I said calmly. "Cuts are inevitable." Silence filled the room. Someone asked the obvious question. "Who leads it?" I paused, then answered. "She does." No names were needed. The decision was delayed, but not denied. Word leaked. Layoffs were coming. That's when she broke. Late one night, I heard a knock on my office door. Soft. Hesitant. I looked up. "Come in." She stepped inside slowly. No confidence this time. No pride. Just fear. She closed the door behind her and stood there, unsure whether to sit or speak. "I heard about the review," she finally said. I nodded. She swallowed. "I know my department isn't perfect," she continued quickly. "But I can't fix it. I just need time." I leaned back, studying her. This wasn't the woman who laughed at my failure. This was someone afraid of losing everything. "Time costs money," I replied. "And money costs jobs." Her voice cracked. "Please," she said. "I've given everything to this company." I didn't respond immediately, because power changes conversations. She took a step forward. "I know I hurt you," she whispered. "I know I said things I shouldn't have." There it was. The past had finally entered the room. "I was scared," she continued. "I didn't think you'd ever recover." I met her eyes, and that justified leaving. I asked quietly. She had no answer. Tears formed, but didn't fall. I don't want to lose this," she said. "This. Not us. Not what we were. Just a job." I stood up, walked to the window. The city lights flickered outside. The same city that once watched me collapse. "I won't make decisions based on history," I said finally. "I make them based on performance." Hope returned to her eyes. "I'll prove myself," she said quickly. "I promise." I turned back to her. "You already did," I replied. "Just not the way you think." She didn't understand. Yet, the next weeks were brutal. Deadlines shortened. Targets raised. I personally monitored her department. No favors. No protection. She struggled. Not because she was incapable, but because pressure reveals who you truly are. Mistakes surfaced. Team members complained. Eventually, HR stepped in. Another review. Final. She received the email the same way I once did. Cold. Official. She came to my office again. This time, she didn't knock. She walked in. Desperate. "They're going to fire me," she said. I remained seated. "This is your last chance," she continued. "I'll do anything." Anything. The word echoed. I looked at her carefully. "I'm not your savior," I said calmly. "And this isn't personal." She shook her head. "You don't understand," she said. "If I lose this job, I lose everything." I almost smiled. "Almost. Now you understand," I replied. Silence crushed the room. She sat down slowly. Her shoulders collapsed. "I mocked you," she whispered. "When you failed." "Yes," I said. "I left when you needed me." "Yes." She looked up, eyes red. "And now, I'm begging you." "Yes." For the first time, the roles were reversed. But revenge didn't feel the way people imagine. It felt quiet, heavy. I stood up again. "I won't fire you," I said. She looked up instantly. Relief flooded her face. "But," I continued, "you will step down." Her relief shattered. "You'll work under new management," I said. "No leadership role. No authority." She nodded slowly. "Thank you," she whispered. I added one final sentence. "And you'll earn your position, the same way I had to earn mine back." She understood. Because humiliation teaches faster than punishment. She left my office that night smaller than she entered. Not because I crushed her, but because reality finally did. I sat alone afterward, not victorious, just aware. Power had come full circle. But the story wasn't over yet, because the final decision, the one that would define who I truly was, still remained. The office felt different after that night. Not quieter, not calmer, heavier. Power always leaves a residue behind, a weight that stays even when the room is empty. After she stepped down, the company stabilized faster than anyone expected. New leadership took control of her department. Productivity increased. Losses slowed. On paper, it was a success. But every success has a shadow. She became invisible. No meetings. No authority. No influence. Just work. She arrived on time. Left late. Completed tasks without complaint. No confidence. No pride. Only focus. At first, people whispered, "She deserved it. Karma is real. Did you hear what she did to him?" But whispers fade when routine replaces drama. Weeks turned into months. And something unexpected happened. She didn't quit. Most people would have. But she stayed. She worked under managers younger than her. Accepted criticism she once gave. Followed orders without resistance. I watched from a distance. Not as a husband. Not as an enemy. As a leader. And slowly, I saw change. Not performance metrics. Character. One evening, I overheard a conversation in the hallway. A junior employee had made a mistake. A costly one. She could have blamed him. Protected herself. Instead, she said calmly, "It's my responsibility. I'll fix it." That sentence stopped me. Because years ago, she never spoke like that. That night, I sat alone in my office long after everyone left. I thought about the man I used to be. The one who begged for understanding. The one who was laughed at. And I thought about the man I had become. Strong. Respected. Untouchable. But something inside me asked a question I couldn't ignore. Was this strength or armor? Power gives you the ability to punish. But wisdom asks whether you should. Another month passed. The board requested a final restructuring review. They were pleased. Profits were rising. Stability had returned. Then the chairman asked casually, "What about her?" The room went still. "She's surviving," one executive said. "But she's wasted talent." Another added, "She's paying for personal mistake." Personal. I spoke for the first time. "This company doesn't punish emotions," I said calmly. "It rewards growth." They looked at me. "I'll evaluate her myself," I continued. "Final decision is mine." They agreed. That evening, I called her into my office. She walked in cautiously. No fear this time. No desperation. Just acceptance. "You wanted to see me?" she asked. "Yes," I replied. "Sit." She did. I studied her face carefully. The arrogance was gone. So was the confidence. But something else had taken its place. Humility. "How have you been?" I asked. She hesitated. Learning, she answered honestly. I nodded. Do you regret leaving? The question landed hard. She didn't dodge it. Yes, she said. Every day. Not because she lost status. Not because she lost comfort. But because she finally understood the cost. I didn't know how to stand beside someone when things were uncertain, she continued quietly. I thought strength meant security. She looked up at me. I was wrong. I stood and walked to the window. The city lights flickered below, just like they had the night she begged for her job. You mocked my failure, I said calmly. You laughed when I broke. I know, she whispered. And yet, I continued. You stayed when this job stopped protecting you. Silence. That tells me something, I said. She waited. You didn't change overnight, I added. You were forced to grow. She nodded slowly. I deserved it, she said. I turned back to her. You deserved a lesson, I corrected. Not a lifetime sentence. Her eyes widened. I'm offering you a choice, I said. She listened carefully. You can leave this company, I continued. No references. No reputation damage. Clean exit. Or you can rebuild your career. Not through privilege, but through merit. Tears filled her eyes. Under you, she asked. No, I replied. Beside the work. She understood. I handed her a folder. Inside was a new role. Challenging. Demanding. No shortcuts. She looked up at me. Why? She asked softly. The answer took time. Because revenge made me powerful, I said. But forgiveness made me free. She didn't cry. She stood. Thank you, she said. Not as my wife. Not as my subordinate. As a human being. She left the office quietly. That night, I walked out of the building alone. No applause. No victory speech. Just clarity. I realized something important. Winning isn't about watching someone fall. It's about choosing who you become when you finally stand above them. She mocked my failure. Yes, but my success wasn't built to destroy her. It was built to prove something to myself. That respect earned through fear disappears, but respect earned through integrity lasts. And as for love, love that survives only success was never love at all. The story ended not with revenge, but with growth. And that was the most powerful ending of all.